Hello and welcome to yet another baseball podcast where we'll talk about the game, the players, the teams, and all things around the diamond. I'm your host, Justin Kohler, and let's step into the batter's box because a new episode is about to get underway. All right, and we are here with the fourth episode of yet another baseball podcast. Incredibly happy to be here. Again, my name's Justin. I'm your host throughout this entire podcast. And honestly, I just kind of want to cut right to the chase. You've probably read the title. And this is honestly kind of the episode that I am looking forward to the most and also dreading the most because I don't want to hold back a whole ton at all. As soon as I started this podcast, I knew that I wanted to talk about everything about the sport, stuff I love, stuff I hated. And of course, because I talked to you about my favorite team, the Toronto Blue Jays, I thought it would be almost disingenuous if I wasn't truthful about the team that I am the opposite with and despise the most. And as you've probably read, that is the New York Yankees, one of the most established and defined franchises in Major League Baseball with the deepest history of most of the other teams. And I'm both excited and terrified, as I said, to do this episode because there's a lot I'm going to touch on. And I do admit hate is a strong word. I do not hate the New York Yankees. Do I strongly dislike them? Yes, I do. I'm not a big fan of the New York Yankees. And I don't want to shy away from giving my honest, true thoughts because that would just be disingenuous. And I want to tell you what I feel. So, for me, the New York Yankees are the definition of the baseball machine. Everything, if you were to have an industrial idea of what Major League Baseball is, look at the New York Yankees, and that is them almost as a whole. Maybe I should preface this by saying, please don't hate me too much. Everybody has their thoughts on different teams. Everybody has their thoughts. Everybody has their opinions. And I just want to communicate to you mine. And of course, none of my opinions are going to be perfect. I am biased. I cheer for a team that is in the same division as them. So of course, I'm not going to have the best feelings for that team. That being said, I do like the Rays. I do like the Orioles. And I do have some admiration for the Boston Red Sox. So take with that what you will. But anyways, so yes, don't hate me too much. Just communicating my thoughts. But if you have any discrepancies or if I get anything wrong, let me know. Find me on socials, and I'd love to have a pleasant discussion with you about it. So anyways, like I was saying, they're the machine of baseball. They're there's a few big parts of the Yankees and their organization that I do have some just general troubles with. Their fairly traditional values, the payroll as a whole, the players themselves. And I mean, I can't talk about the Yankees without talking about their fan base as well, but we'll get to that in a little bit. I do want to start off a little bit easy. When I say traditional values, I am mostly talking about one thing that even a lot of the players themselves do not like, which is their appearance policy. That's right. The New York Yankees have an appearance policy that has been in effect, I think, since 1973. So yeah, that's right. 50 years this has been in place. So they are not allowed beards. They are not allowed long hair. It is contractually written that they are not allowed to do so. I think the hair cannot touch the collars of their shirts, and they're only allowed mustaches. So they are allowed technically some facial hair, but no beards, no anything like that. No other team in the league does this. Some teams have kind of tried it, and especially back when being more clean-shaven was the norm back in kind of the 70s and the 80s, it wasn't really looked on too much, this appearance policy. But as times changed and more beards, more facial hair became more apparent in culture, they didn't change a thing. Whereas other teams, even I think as late as the late 90s, early 2000s, got rid of a lot of their policies if they had those at all in the first place. And for me, it's just when no other team does this and this hinders you from signing certain players, why do you keep it in effect? And then you look at people like Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole with a beard looks awesome. I don't know if you've ever taken a look at Garrett Cole's time when he was with the Astros, but when he had a beard, he looked super cool. It like really pulls off a beard. When you force him to shave it, it just makes him look like a square-headed child, Garrett Cole. And when you take that into account and then mix in his kind of like petty perfectionism, it does not a good look for. Especially when it's your ace on the team, your Cy Young caliber guy on the mound, and you don't allow him to have any sort of facial hair whatsoever. It's just a ridiculous policy that I cannot get. As someone with a beard, usually most of the time, I can't get behind that, and I just think it's ridiculous and just a thing of the Yankees holding on to the past. It's just, in my mind, it's a stupid policy, and I don't understand it. Okay, that's just my small little one. That's not a whole ton. That's not a whole lot. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people have issue with when it comes to the Yankees is their payroll. You compare them with a lot of teams like the Padres. You compare them with teams like the Mets, where just the amount of money they are willing to throw around is ridiculous. And as I always cheer for the underdogs. I always cheer for the rookies, the new up-and-comers, the people who make something out of nothing. It's hard for me to cheer for these teams in general. I recently enough, over the past few years, got into basketball, into the NBA, and had to go about picking my teams and who I wanted to cheer for. And of course, so many people cheer for the Lakers. A lot of people cheer for Golden State. They will never be teams that I jump on board of, because they are just, if they're really good and they're fun to watch, that's totally different. But when it's just an established team who throws money at players willy-nilly, I can't really get behind it. So, of course, I was looking to teams like Portland. I was looking at the time before they really, really got going. And the team I now cheer for now, which it kind of flipped, is the Phoenix Suns. I love my Suns. I was cheering for them back when they had not a whole lot at all, right before they picked up DeAndre Ayton. And I just gotta love the underdog story. It's just something cool to cheer for. Everybody can get behind it, which makes it so hard to cheer for these teams that are willing to throw away nearly close to $300 million a year on players, and are willing to cast them aside, sign new players willy-nilly like it's nothing. It creates this huge divide in Major League Baseball, and you just can't throw money at the problems. I mean, clearly they try, but and I do want to preface this by saying, don't get me wrong, teams like the Athletics, the Pirates, teams like that have the money and refuse to spend it out of greed, that irks me so much, and that's an entirely different problem that we'll talk about on a different day. That's a whole other thing. But when you just throw, like, it just, It irks me so much, and it just honestly makes it that much more embarrassing when the team sucks. You look at the Mets this year, who have just kind of imploded and are offloading everyone that they can, basically not saying that they aren't going to be competitive until at least 2025 at the earliest. And the Yankees themselves, over 11 games behind the Orioles for the AL East title, and just half a game out of last place in the division. It's hard not to laugh and mock them a little bit for throwing all of this money at the problem and just not getting the results. It does make me chuckle, and I can't cheer for a team like that. It's tough. It's very tough. And of course, I do cheer for the Jays, and they are not perfect either. They have, I think, a top 10 payroll as well. I think they're like maybe 7, 8, or 9. I think the payrolls. But they started from a point and got here. The Yankees have always been this dominant power, always for years and years and years, just throwing money at the problem. And of course, they've gotten a lot of titles out of it. There's a lot of stuff that works, and it is hard to cheer for the people who just win all the time. You don't want to be a bandwagon baseball fan. It's tough, and it's one reason that a lot of people and a lot of fans do not like the Yankees. So before going too far into that realm, I do want to talk about the players themselves. A lot of them don't make it easy to cheer for the Yankees either. And of course, there are great players. It's hard not to cheer for Aaron Judge when he's actively making history most years. And I do like Anthony Volpe. I think he brings a lot of potential and a lot of youth to the future of the team. But throw me a bone here. As a Jays fan, even I don't like Josh Donaldson anymore. He was a great Jay, very historic Silver Slugger MVP. But when you have someone on your team who actively pimps home runs that end up being flyouts to the center fielder, it's just ridiculous. And especially when people like Josh Donaldson have this just incredible ego and this incredible attitude that I feel like is the general mental state and attitude, as someone on the outside looking in, is the general look and feel of Yankees players. They just have this incredible ego that is just hard to cheer for. I don't want to cheer for people that I just seem like bad people is just kind of what I'm saying. And then, of course, I talked about Garrett Cole. He's not my favorite either. He just has a pity party anytime the game's delayed by 5 minutes, like a little princess. Hard to cheer for him. Then you talk about people like Herman Marquez, who used foreign substances and is a cheater. It's just, there's a lot of people on the team that are very tough to cheer for because of the personalities behind it. And of course, there are a lot of people and a lot of teams that have players like that, which is big egos. For the longest time, especially from one of their World Series runs, Manny Machado, hard to cheer for him. He has a bit of an ego, especially, what was it, the one game where he was sprinting down first base and basically just stepped on a player's leg. It's horrible. So I'm not saying every team is perfect and every team gets away with it, but the Yankees somehow seem to have a lot of really out there personalities all of the time, every year. It's just, again, makes it tough to want to cheer for them in general. One thing that I have to talk about, because I know my team isn't perfect either. There are a lot of bad Blue Jays fans. But Yankee fans, do you even like your own team? Oh my God. Some fans are rough on teams. Even right now, a lot of the Jays' losses, the fans freak out, blow a gasket, and don't know what to do when a team loses. Think of the Mets a year or two ago with the players calling them out actively each game because of how against the team Mets fans were. Even now, the hate that the Astros still get. But man, Yankees fans will boo you off the field after a single bad performance. Give your pitchers a chance here. I understand you signed Carlos Rodon for quite a big contract, and he is one of your big name starting pitchers. But when he comes back from injury, not having played a single game in the season, and within 2 rough outings, he's blowing kisses and mocking fans because he's actively getting booed off the field. Give these people a bit of a chance. Throw them a little bit of a bone, Yankees fans. Oh man, some of the aggression that I see on a regular basis popping up on my Twitter, I guess X, that's weird to say, X feeds now. It's you almost don't want to relate with Yankees fans because of how aggressive they are. And again, this is someone on the outside looking in, which, yes, as a non-Yankee fan, someone who cheers for someone in the same division, there's a lot I'm missing. There's a lot I am not directly aware of when it comes to the Yankees, their organization, everything that's going on. But as an outside opinion, are your fans even fans? Are you even fans of your own team? I can't tell some days. It's really, really tough to figure out. Yankees fans are just so strange to me. And I will admit, there is a passion that comes with being a Yankees fan, and an incredibly rich history to root for behind that team. And amazing players come out of the organization. You think of players like Jeter, you think of Babe Ruth, Mariano Rivera, A-Rod, Mickey Mantle. There's a lot to love about the Yankees organization. You couldn't tell from fans at all, though. Okay, so anyways, the last point I want to touch on, specifically touch on, is when players themselves actively don't like the team. It's one thing for fans to say, oh, I don't like this team, even me directly. There's a lot of points that I make that could be just attributed to me being a Jays fan and being someone who is a division rival. There's a lot that I can say that is just an outside opinion looking in. But when players, both on the team and players who have left the team, say that they hate the Yankees, you gotta think something is up. You think of players like Guerrero Jr., David Ortiz, Manny Machado, Robinson Cano, who just actively will go out of their way to say how much they hate the Yankees, how much they will never join them, and yada, yada, yada. And then you think of, even worse, players who were part of the Yankees organization, players like Joey Gallo, who I feel so horrible for, really turned it around with the Dodgers. He just needed to escape the Yankees organization. You think of similar players like Gary Sanchez, who both say that they hated being on the team. how could it's tough to cheer for that when players actively leave your organization and say they didn't like being a part of it. If people did that on my team, I would be raising some red flags as well. Now that's a lot to say in practice, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it if that ever happens for the Blue Jays. But the Yankees just really universally are just seen as the villains in baseball, and not in a cool way, not in like a dark, cool, mysterious sort of a way. In just kind of a lame, just like, oh yeah, it's the big annoying jock again coming in trying to dominate everyone else and not giving anyone else turns. That's all a lot of baseball fans kind of just see the Yankees as. And as someone who actively talks to people who are fans of other teams, one of my better friends in the broadcast journalism space is a Yankees fan, or no, Mets fan. I do feel horrible for him this year in particular. I've let him know that a few times. But just everybody hates the Yankees. And I'm not going to keep it too much longer. I wanted to keep this relatively short because I could go on a tangent for ages and ages and ages. But I wanted to keep this kind of concise, show the points why I do not like the Yankees, because it's a lot of fans do kind of just dislike teams out of practice, out of commonality. Like, like every Blue Jays fan hates the Yankees. Of course I'm going to hate the Yankees. But I did want to say there are reasons specifically why I cannot be a fan of the Yankees and their organization. If you have any direct conflicting thoughts, or if you think that anything that I said is directly wrong, let me know. Find me out on socials. Like I said, I'd love to have a pleasant discussion with you. And like, I know a lot of people don't like Toronto. It's one thing being the only Canadian team, and there's a lot of conflict that just comes from that. And of course, there are a lot of personalities on the Blue Jays. As I've said before, my favorite baseball player of all time is Jose Bautista, and he definitely could rile feathers with other organizations. So I do understand when people don't like the Blue Jays as well. And I think there are ups and downs and pleasantries for every single team in Major League Baseball. No one team is perfect. No one team is spectacular and amazing and just a saint on the field. So I do understand the ups and downs of every single team. Just the Yankees have a few more downs in my books than I would consider other teams. So if you do have disagreements with me, let me know. I'd love to talk to you. And that's pretty much where I'm going to wrap up this episode of the podcast. Like I said, I don't want to drag it on too much. I don't want to just have a full 20, 30-minute episode just bashing the Yankees and going super full in depth. I just wanted to casually, pleasantly bring up a few of the reasons why they're not my favorite team. So anyways, thank you so much for listening. Again, you can find me on socials. Was it X, Instagram? I hope they switch it back to Twitter because it's such a stupid name. X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all at Justin AJ Kohler. That's Justin, the letters AJ, Koehler. Thank you so much for listening. I've incredibly appreciated the support that I've been getting so far. And it's been so good seeing the amount of outreach that this podcast has already been getting, and just how outside of, even as someone from London, Ontario in Canada, seeing so many people from other countries listening to this podcast. It's really, really cool to see, and really cool to see the analytics for. So thank you so incredibly much for the support. And yeah, that's about it for this episode. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!